Hey, Moses here. And this, in my opinion, is the absolute best video editor that you can have today. And that is DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve 19, to be more specific. Instead of telling you, let me just show you why I think the DaVinci Resolve is the absolute best. This is my iPad Pro. I don't know which version, but just go with it. I have DaVinci Resolve installed here. I also have DaVinci Resolve installed on my computer, as you can see on the screen, for podcast editing. And at the top here, you have my footage. At the bottom, you have my guests. And this is how I approach video editing. I approach video editing the way that podcast editing with DaVinci Resolve. And I want to talk to those of you that want free tools. And I chose DaVinci Resolve because DaVinci Resolve is really powerful. The free version of DaVinci Resolve is going to take you very far, and you might not even need to ever update to the full paid DaVinci Resolve version. But if you're trying to figure out which video editor you should switch to, I say DaVinci Resolve for a few reasons. One is because the free version really is going to take you very far, and there is no monthly payment. So if you choose to make a payment to purchase the full version, it's $300, but it's a one-time fee and you don't have to upgrade ever again. Now, let me show you what DaVinci Resolve can do, more or less, even if all you have is an iPad. So here I have an iPad, and I'm gonna open here DaVinci Resolve, and look at that, DaVinci Resolve 19. Now, I used Adobe Premiere Pro for a very long time. I'm a huge fan. It works, crashes quite often, and so it has its own frustrations. And the good side, one of the things that I really liked about Adobe Premiere is some of the extensions that are available for Adobe Premiere are just the ones that I use are not available for DaVinci Resolve, but the free version of DaVinci Resolve for podcast editing, video editing in general for content creators and filmmakers, it goes a very long ways. Now, for those of you that do podcast editing, let's just assume, for instance here, that this is your podcast that you're editing, and this is the free version on the iPad here. And let's say you want to do some super simple video editing here. And let's say that this is your podcast episode, and you just want to trim the beginning, trim the ending, and maybe remove some mistakes that you made along the way. So let's see how that works. It's very simple. You can just, if you've done any video editing, you're probably already familiar with trimming and splitting and whatnot. But I'm going to make an assumption here that I want the podcast to start right about here. And so I can just drag this here, and just like so, I'm there. And I can go to the very ending here, and let's say I want to get rid of all that empty space, just like that, and we're done. We're done, just like that. Done. So if you've done some video editing, of course, you know that this is like super simple, but the fact that you can do this on an iPad is just amazing. And the fact that you can do this for free, it's just, yes, there's plenty of other softwares out there that will do, this is super basic. They can do this for free as well. But what you can do in addition to this, before you even have to pay, it's bonkers that this is free. So let's get back here to the iPad. Let's say that you made a mistake somewhere in your podcast episode, and you just want to cut a chunk, right? So let's say between here, you want to cut between here and here. Let's say you made this little sound wave here. Let me give you a bigger zoom. The sound wave here is the mistake that you made. You can just tap on that, and at the top left here, you have this little split sign, scissor sign, and you can come just past the mistake here. You can split again, and then you can tap on the mistake that you made, and then you can simply press and hold there, and you can just cut it. And just like that, if this was a podcast, I've just removed a mistake that was made. Now, of course, these are super simple editing techniques, but done well, this can take you along, take you pretty far. There's of course some AI stuff that speed up the editing process. So, for example, if you wanted to take this to the next level, the paid version, for example, if I tap here, I see here that I have, oh, that's not it. Was it here? I see here that I have create subtitles from audio. So based on the AI here, you can see here, you have the, you have the ability to create subtitles based on this, on what it said in the podcast, right? And so that's, I mean, that's pretty huge. That's pretty huge. I wonder if you were actually able to see that. I saw a little glitch. But what I wanted to say is this. Whether you're using a computer, let me switch you back to the computer. I have the full paid version of DaVinci Resolve, and it's super powerful, and I'm barely scratching the surface. And for those of you that want a piece of software that is free and it has a lot of potential. You will not outgrow DaVinci Resolve, the free version, for a very long time if you are already not a solidified video editor. I hope you know. I hope that makes sense. If you're just a beginner, DaVinci Resolve has a steep learning curve. That's one of the downsides, but I suppose it's the downside of any non-linear video editor. But if you just want to do some super basic podcast editing or YouTube editing, you want to be able to trim, you want to be able to zoom into some stuff. Let me actually show you this, even though this is not a tutorial. But let's say I wanna zoom in here on my smug face there. What am I doing? Let's say I want to zoom in here. I can come to the inspector window here, and I can just zoom in like that. Let me move it to the left a little bit here. Zoom in some more. I know, please apologize. I apologize for the for these faces that I'm making here. But you can do a lot of the basic video editing stuff here, even playing around with this and anchor points. And I mean, you can play around with the free version of DaVinci Resolve to your heart's content. To your heart's content. And all of this is free. All of this is free, and you can do that on an iPad. You can, of course, do that on a computer. But what I'm trying to drive home is that the free version of DaVinci Resolve is very powerful. And yes, it does have a steeper learning curve. You can see here I have transitions, I have titles, I have effects. All of this is for free. So that is why I think that DaVinci Resolve is the absolute best video editing software for any creator getting started, because it is free and it works really well. It's really powerful, and it's available on the iPad. Okay, I hope I've driven home that point. If you are interested in starting a podcast, and or you already have a podcast but you're running into a wall, I have a podcast training workshop that I do live every 2 weeks or so. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, I'm still doing it. But I have a 4-week podcast training mentorship, essentially, that I allow 10 people that I get to work one-on-one with, specifically to get over whatever barrier that is keeping you and your podcast from the success that you deserve. So if you're interested in that, I'm going to leave down a link for the workshop, if this is still a thing. And yeah, hopefully I get to see you inside of the podcast workshop or the podcast mentorship program. I don't know why I ended it like that, but I ended it like that. Peace.